Hello people, what is going on? Welcome back to the channel. This is Sorin and today we are going to talk about the TL-7, the new upcoming Tier 9 premium American tank destroyer that you can get for yourself from the Martian loot crates. Yeah, so this is going to be another vehicle that you can gamble to get in one of tanks. This time it's a Tier 9. On top of that you have also the Chieftain prototypes, so there are two Tier 9s to get and some other tanks that are, well, you don't really want any of those. Maybe some of them are good, but this is the main addition. This is why you should gamble. Well, not really, I'm telling you that you should gamble because it's your money, and it's literally now we're having loot boxes every maybe like 4 times, 5 times a year. So without all of that in the way, you should not gamble on this vehicle, especially because well, it's your hard-earned money, and Wargaming should stop monetizing the game in this way. Um, and putting exclusive content under this kind of barrier of having that 1 into 10 chances, because there are 10 vehicles. If you don't have any of them, there is going to be 10% chances that you're going to receive this vehicle in 50 boxes, with depending on the luck. You can get it in your first box, you can get it in your 500th box. It's really luck dependent. So the TL-7, it's a versatile vehicle, and starting off, it does have an autoloader, 4-shell autoloader with a nice 2.3 second intra-clip reload. The DPM is not the greatest, the reloading time is not the greatest, so yeah, you really need to make your shell counts. You need to really know what you are doing, how to what gameplay to use, what to do in those extra 40 seconds of cooldown. So starting off, I really want to say that is gonna be a pretty high skill base vehicle to do decent in. But in terms of the gun, 360 alpha damage, the penetration is 252, and on top of that APCRs is 315, which are okay for a tank destroyer. They are not the highest penetration, but it's manageable. And on top of that, the HE magazine, you can do 1840 versus a Grille versus an FV, but once again, having this kind of high reload, I do not really recommend. Maybe you can have one magazine, because this tank carries 32, 36 ammunition, but as you saw from my gameplay, from my World of Tanks replay, this tank kind of tends to run out of ammo, so be really wise with your ammunition loadout. Next, the dispersion is 0.38 second, actually 0.38, which for this kind of caliber, that is 105 millimeter, I think. It should be 105. Oh no, it's actually 120 millimeter. It's kind of bad. I mean, 0.38. It's for a tank destroyer, it's balanced. I mean, you're not really the most pinpoint accurate, and on top of that, the aiming time is not the best. Probably it's on the good side, but once again, consider your intra-clip reload it's that fast, you kind of want to use something to help you not bloom out that much. And on top of that, the dispersion, 0.28 while moving and tank traversing, that is insane. Meaning you have to be stationary for around 10 seconds to actually make your shell count, to make sure that you connect where you actually want to aim. So yeah, once again, make sure that you do not touch your keyboard while unloading, because on top of that, your turret traverse is 0.12, which is really huge. So this vehicle must use an rotation device, which is yeah, it's limiting in terms of this vehicle performance, because once again, you have some things that are pretty lackluster. In terms of shell velocity on AP, it's really decent at 1060. On top of that, APCRs as well get 1492. So I will see a lot of people using only APCRs because they have way better. They have like 50% better shell velocity, even not 45%. So APCR is gonna be like the more better ammunition. In terms of mobility, you have 50 km/h top speed and 15 in reverse. So it's okay, it's manageable because the power to weight ratio is decent. And on top of that, because your ground resistances are pretty decent, you will actually manage to reach that top speed even on medium terrain, which is always really nice. next you have the terrain resisted, actually not really, the tank traverse speed. It's roughly around 29, so it's not really that kind of a medium because this vehicle it's pretty small by size. So yeah, it's not gonna turn like a medium or a light tank or a vehicle from this size. So it is pretty balanced in my opinion. What is also really nice and flexible of this vehicle are the 15 degrees of elevation and 10 degrees of gun depression, which are enough to work even on real terrain. And trust me, this vehicle has enough armor to maybe bounce occasionally one or two shells. A fully traversable turret, which is once again really nice. 100 millimeters of hull armor and 200 on the turret. I'm talking about the module. You can actually have some angles. You can actually ricochet one shell if you just wiggle. You can side scrape even, which is interesting. But you can side scrape only to tanks that have under 150 millimeter caliber gun. For example, the Type 5 gun, the Type 4 gun, the Type what else are there? The 140 millimeter guns, the 128, and so on and so forth. But keep in mind, 152 millimeter gun, 155 are gonna be overmatchable, are gonna overmatch you in the side as well. So keep that in mind if you're playing a city map. In terms of the lower plate, even tier 6s are gonna penetrate, even tier 7 actually, because you're gonna meet tier 7s, but it's penetrable by AP rounds very easily. So yeah, the turret armor do have a really big weak point, like you have on a renegade. But yeah, if you really wanna use your gun depression and you just wiggle, you just go back and forth, and you're picking like this kind of way. You might actually get some occasional bounces versus AP because as you can see, the chicks are around 240. So yeah, some heavy tier 8 heavies are gonna penetrate you. Actually, they're gonna penetrate. There's gonna be like 50 chance whether they're gonna penetrate your turret or not. So you can actually occasionally bounce something. So you are not the glass cannon tank destroyer in that kind of regard. And by the looks of it, you have a weak point over here, like a flutter something, like you have a viewport or something like that, because you have this green spot over here. And yeah, just look how small this vehicle is. I mean, it's literally a toy. But yeah, in terms of the armor, you actually have some decent armor for this kind of small tank destroyer. 1500 hit points is decent in my opinion for tier 9. You can make them work. You have 28 tons. Now I realize this vehicle doesn't really weigh that much, so you literally don't want to get rammed. You don't want to ram anything, maybe not even artillery pieces, not even light tanks, because you are just gonna take like 1000 damage in return for dealing 50. And that camo is actually really nice. Considering the size of this vehicle, the commander is also the radio man. So what you want to put is, first of all, you want to put the situational awareness first instead of the recon, and you will really need, because you have 370 meters of view range, and keep in mind that this vehicle catches fire quite often if it gets hit in the rear. So another thing I forget to mention, you have 10 degrees all the way to your back. So once you're gonna go over your tank's booper, you're just gonna have 7 degrees of gun depression, so keep that in mind. But 10 degrees is gonna be plenty. You're gonna be flexible everywhere, and I really like that. In terms of the equipment, by placing all of this, you can see that you get a bit better terrain resistances and turning speed. You wanna improve your reinforced suspension, get yourself some dispersion buff, you get yourself more accurate, and you really want to make sure that you connect your shells. 2% view range is always welcome. You want to put probably a scouting slot, and of course 5% camouflage will be really nice to have at the cost of reverse speed. Now for that, what you'll probably use, first of all, maybe you want to use the ventilation. Actually, we're going to use bounty ventilation because there is going to be a watt plus, just to have a slightly better DPM and slightly better overall everything. On top of that, view range. Probably an optic will be really nice where is the optics? The optics is here. And probably what else you want to use? It's aiming device probably will be really nice to have. And why do I keep missing all of this? This could probably be your first build where you play like as a sniper, and you can actually with all of this. Let's actually put brothers in concealment and camouflage, station awareness, snapshot, recon, and maybe smooth ride. And oh, the view range is gonna get plenty with all of this. And on top of that, if you are gonna use case of cola, you will not really need to use the coded optics. So what you could probably use, it's an improved improve the mobility system, probably actually the tier 2 one, just to have yourself slightly higher top speed, better mobility, and on top of that to get yourself slight better dispersion, and just like that you have yourself quite okay tank. So as I mentioned, the vehicle itself doesn't look that bad. This could probably be once again your setup for I don't know, your reliable setup, you know, just to do damage at kind of long distances. Or if you really want to be sneaky, you can put the bounty exhaust system, or you can just use the improved rotation mechanism and just use all of this. So yeah, now as I mentioned with all of my replays, it really depends on your gameplay, on your game style, and what you really want to use this tank for. Do you want to be a support vehicle? Do you want to be a scout as well? Because this vehicle, as I mentioned, has quite decent camouflage, but once again, you're a tank destroyer, you're supposed to do damage. So yeah, now it really depends on your playstyle. But how would I rate this vehicle? Well, um, I will rate it as occasional. You can just I think it's gonna be the first premium tank from tier 9 as an autoloader, but if you have something maybe like G-Sor at tier 8, you will not really need this vehicle. But once again, if you maybe you wanna buy the loot crate just for their content, and maybe they're good value for money, and you get you get this vehicle on top of that, sure you can get it as well. But keep in mind that this vehicle will be sold maybe in September, November, or at some point, because this is always what happening. The 7032 was sold in the loot boxes, the Progetto as well, the Bisonte, the Progetto, the Bisonte, and after maybe like a year or something like that, you will just you can buy them for actually an amount of money. So keep that in mind if you really want to buy 50, 100 loot boxes just for this vehicle, because this is very luck dependent. But as I mentioned, the vehicle itself looks quite decent. It is balanced, it doesn't look really overpowered, and I will actually say that is actually decent for a credit maker. It's not overpowered, it's not underpowered, it's decent, and that's all I have to say. Don't forget to watch my replay to see how this tank managed to do 7k damage, and I will see legends in the next one. Bye bye.